see on Brosio. And they do have at least 35 languages that translate the listing into their own native language. So I know, you know, it is part of going to the China and things like that. We, at ARIA, you know, they do a lot of trade summit as well. They have at least 15 trade summits through different countries. And they just finished a few days ago a trade summit with Hong Kong and Macau, and now they are planning for a trade summit with Taiwan. So there's a lot of opportunity that you can get connected with a lot of, you know, different countries, and also using the brochure as part of your website for your business.
And you mentioned the Global and Luxury Summit coming up in Chicago, March 19th to the 21st at the Trump Tower in Chicago. The Asian Real Estate Association of Americas is hosting their annual Global Summit, April 19th to the 21st.
Yes.
In Chicago. How many of you are planning on attending that event? We've got a few. I just joined ARIA 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited. I can't wait to get to Chicago to that event. So definitely check it out. You can simply Google 2015 Global and Luxury Summit. You can Google that. I don't know if anyone's got some information about it here. Okay, any other additional questions from the audience before we get started? Or not before we start, but before we continue. Okay, great. What I want to do is I want to bring up one of our sponsors with Pillar to Post. Rachel, would you mind coming on up? All of the hors d'oeuvres and the champagne, thanks to Rachel and our other sponsor, Rebecca from Universal Title as well. So Rachel, you have to go forward.
Thank you very much for having me. What a nice time to drive into Annapolis, isn't it? Rush hour, see the sunset, meet the people next to you in the car. I am a home inspector. I identify defects for a living. That's what home inspectors do. There are several jokes about why my marriage didn't last that goes with that. What happens with international buyers is that they have a misunderstanding or misconceptions about what happens on a home inspection. So a lot of times, there's a lot of education that needs to come from us to the buyers so that they know what to expect and they know what's going on. Our inspectors are specially trained to communicate in a way that lots of people can understand, no matter what their first language is. It's sometimes hard to find people who work in the trades, who work in plumbing and electrical stuff and roofing, who actually are empathetic with people, who've lived overseas, who understand other languages and the challenges that people face when they move to another country and they're buying property, or if they're not here and they're buying a property. So one of the things that is really important to us is that we've got a Japanese-speaking inspector and we have a Spanish-speaking inspector, and the other inspectors all work very carefully to communicate slowly and effectively. We also do inspections via Skype so people can see what we're talking about and see what's going on. I don't know if those will work on all the platforms. As I'm hearing things, I'm hearing more challenges than ever. I'm not an international specialist. I identify defects for a living. I help people not feel terrified. And I work really hard in educating my inspectors so that they are able to communicate what's going on, help people understand what to expect, and they're not scared of the transaction. And it's been interesting as I work with more and more people from other cultures to answer questions and explain things about the way things are done in the housing market here that just other people don't understand, which is why this is so fantastic. So when Debbie Henniger came to me and said, "Can you do this?" I went, "Well, geez, yeah, because this is exactly what we want." Nice job.
Thank you.
I'll be here for the next couple of days, so you can ask any questions. We can talk later, but this is a tool that's going to be really helpful for you. You can find it on our website, which is pillartopost.com/Jim and Rachel. Jim is my dad, family business. This gives average costs of what it is to repair and replace different things throughout the house, the average costs all across North America. So whether you've got someone buying a property in Potomac or you have someone buying a property in Cleveland, These are averages, and that at least help people understand. The average life expectancies of the major components are also on the back. If you have a pillar-to-post inspector in your area or one that you're already working with, they can give you these as well. I've got hard copies, but you can also download them from our website, pillartopost.com/Jim and Rachel. And I'll be here, and we can get to know each other. I'll be taking the class as well so that I can understand what's going on. Our goal is really to help people feel comfortable with the whole transaction. And we do it in English first, and we do it in other languages, and we do it with people who are challenged in other ways. And we make it easy, and we make people feel respected and cared for as they make this transition. I lived in Germany and tried to rent an apartment. I thought I was going to keel over. The language thing is so difficult. People who don't know that can't understand it. So what you're doing here is not just about real estate, and you're starting this marathon, which is fantastic, but what you're doing is improving the human condition and improving how people experience life.
That's right.
This isn't just real estate. These are relationships.
Absolutely.
I look forward to talking to you.
Give Rachel a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
I just wanted to add that I use Pillar and Post, and what a great company of professionals. And something really interesting for international buyers is understanding and be able to explain. People are used to very different methods of construction. You come from a country where they use primarily concrete and rebars, and they have a lot of earthquakes, and they come into our wood frame based product, then it's a cultural shock. So it's actually, it feels like a dollhouse to them, not a real home. Or if you're from a country like Japan, where the average house expectancy used to be, they're trying to change it now. We had a delegation at Greater Baltimore Board of Realtors not that long ago. The average life expectancy of a home is 25 years. So these homes are constructed to last 25 years or less. And you can understand when you come in and you're talking about a Butler Stone home built in 1800s. They think that you have two heads.
I'd just like to add to that. I think it goes back to what I said at my very first remark about counseling patients. You're all in the real estate business, and let's face it, we all work with clients, American clients, every day. You do home inspections, and they freak out, right? So we spend a lot of our time helping clients to understand the context in which a home inspection is done. It's hard enough for people who've lived in this area their whole lives, who speak English perfectly, who even have bought another home before. It's a very nerve-wracking process. You can imagine how that's compounded by someone who is from another country, is using their second or third or fourth language to conduct this transaction, doesn't understand our method of construction, is dealing with all manner of other communication back and forth. It's very frustrating for them, and thus very frustrating for us. So I think that that's a very good point that you raised, and it's clearly one of, speaking from my own personal experience, I can assure you, even with clients that I have who are themselves commercial developers in China, helping them to understand the differences about the way that we build, the way that we develop, you really need to take a breath and forget everything you know about the way that you typically do this and go back to square one.
Excellent. So I've got two questions. The first is, how have you individually positioned yourself as the go-to expert, and how would you recommend members of the audience position themselves to be the go-to expert in their individual markets? Who wants to take that first? How have you positioned yourself as the go-to expert, and what one piece of advice would you give to those of the audience to then position themselves as the go-to expert in their market?
Well, I want to make a pitch for Anne, because I want to let you say it, but I just want to say great things about ARIA, the Asian Real Estate Association of America. I am very clearly not Asian, right? But I am a member of ARIA, and I joined 2 years ago, largely because of this business that we are doing back and forth with China, and now increasingly Korea, actually. And it's been a great resource. The Global and Luxury Summit is really a great conference. I would highly recommend it to anybody who's interested. But it's just a good opportunity to go and network with other people that are working in this aspect of the business. And I think that is the answer to your question, Aaron, which is really, if you decide that this is an aspect of our business that you want to get involved in, you know, part of it is you really just have to dive into the deep end of the pool and find the people who are communicating with these clients, whether it's through an association like ARIA or a local chamber of commerce that is dealing primarily with foreign business people in our area, and there are a number of those, and we are members of those chambers of commerce. That's where you get your start. And you know, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 years of going to meetings, meeting people, trading business cards, and eventually the business starts to come. But it takes a while.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
Anybody else want to take that?
I was going to add to that.
Yeah.
Not so much on how I become an expert, but how you can. I think, yes, it is a marathon, but it's not as long as you think it is. If you just take international, if you just go read the profile of international home buying, they release that report every single year. Guess what? You've done more than probably 98% of the agents in the industry.
Where can you find that report?
Yeah, if you just go to the NAR website, realtor.org, go to the search and just enter in profile of international home buyers. Do that. Next, same exact website, go to search and enter in state by state. And you're going to find a state report just on the international activity occurring right in your state. If you read those 2 reports, you don't have to read them word for word, but just understand what's going on. You have more expertise than probably 99% of the agents in the market. And so, yes, it is a marathon until you build this niche, but you can become an expert pretty quick.
Michael?
I was just going to echo, immerse yourself, right? So you do have to dive in, and you can't decide, oh, I'm just going to make it, you know, a little part of my business. If you want to be an expert in this piece, you need to devote time and energy. You need to go to the clients that you're going to see. How many times have you been overseas?
5 times a year minimum.
Right? Case in point, those professionals who put in the time, money, energy will get the return. Over the last 4 years, you have seen international real estate sales go up over $40 billion. You know, pretty remarkable. And what's interesting is over that period of time, you've actually seen the same population, right? The population of realtors that are actually conducting these sales is not getting larger. It's actually staying the same. So that's one of 2 things. One is people are leaving and new people are coming in and filling in for those sales, or you're seeing the expertise that people have garnered over the years and they're just doing a lot more business. And from my perspective, and I would say everybody on the panel, I would go out on a limb, that's exactly what's happening, is the people that are getting more business have the expertise, and it's just growing from referrals and their own investment within the organization and companies.
So the information that I saw from the report you're mentioning on international buyers was only 28% of your colleagues are actually engaging into the international market. So it's a very small percentage, and you're right, it seems to go down every couple of years.
Yeah, I just want to add that you want to be specialized in or be international agents. Get yourself designation in CIPS. That is a certified international property specialist. So you will learn, you know, throughout the course, it's going to teach you the custom, the cultures of each country, European, Asia, and all that. For ARIA itself, even though it's called Asian real estate, but we have different ethnic background that part of the member. So like if you want to learn more about, how to talk with an Asian person, because different countries have different custom, different culture. So, that's something you want to get yourself familiar with. Same thing with European too. It's not, just Asian, but everybody have different custom, different cultures, and you don't want to come across as, ignorance to them or offended them or anything like that. So yeah, get yourself, be certified, be specialist in the international. So that way, if you enter that market, you know how to prepare yourself, you know how to deal, because you need to be an expert in it. So that's part of my two cents.
I just wanted to echo that. CIPS, Certified International Property Specialist, is the premier international designation. It is NAR's only international designation, where they actually have designees in 40 different countries. Part of GPS, all the training to get your CIPS is included. So it's a wonderful organization, and I completely agree on that.
Yeah. I'm going to rain on your parade.
Wah.
No, actually, I agree with everything that the guys and the ladies said. But if you're just starting out, you probably cannot do what Dave does. You probably cannot take 5 international trips a year. It's just not peso doable. So my recommendation will be to you, if you're just beginning the process, go and get listings. They'll find you. Go and get listings. Get education, so you're in the right place. Listen to people that are doing it and take what you can. I know that if not all of you, most of you have probably been to the Bahamas or been to Mexico on a vacation. What most people don't do is connect the two and make it a tax-deductible trip. Schedule a couple appointments, meet the local specialist, get a relationship. My friend Stu, who is a billionaire, said to me a long time ago, it's all about your Rolodex. Now, the guy's from the 70s. In Keller Williams, we call it, it's all about your database. So making connections, it's a contact sport. We're humans. People need to use people. And I'll give you an example. Now, this is not bragging. We rented a villa in Jamaica last year. And I was going through, we had a really nice luxury setup. We had a driver and stuff. And the guy was taking me around, showing me property. And I was like, man, this is beautiful land. And I said, who's the guy or gal who owns the real estate in this area? Who's the top person? And he says, Busha Clark. I said, what's Busha Clark? Oh, he says, that's his name. I said, can I meet him? Do you know him? He said, sure. So he schedules, and being an American, I'm Greek American. I'm not even you guys have one up on me. You're all American. They catch my accent right away. They're like, you're not American. You're almost American. But the fact that I'm from the U.S., right? When you're around the world, it just kind of gives you a little bit of, we are the empire. Good or bad, we are. We get involved in everybody's business. So I asked to meet the guy. Now this is the largest real estate owner on that part of the island. He's got one of the estates that he's got is over 2,000 acres. So Busha Clark takes a meeting with the gringo from the U.S. And we had a wonderful meeting, and we chatted and we laughed and we talked about anything you can imagine, from surfing to politics, and we had a lot of common grounds. And he says, I got this property. He says, why don't I just give you a tour? And he says, I really would like to sell it. I said, how much you want for it? He says, my sister wouldn't let me sell it for nothing like 100 million euros, but he says maybe 70. We'll take 70 million euros. Now remember, euro is like 120 per dollar, so it's even more than 100 million or 70 million US. So now I have to build a website for it. But I'm taking an international listing just by connecting the dots. There you go. And talking to, and I think being an American, it really gives you, when you're overseas, it kind of opens the door for you and take advantage of it. So, or at least meet the players in the place where you are, because those connections, they're going to come handy. You just don't know who is that
And
Next.
that's where Proxio Pro is huge, because Proxio Pro is like the LinkedIn Global Real Estate Professional Network. How many of you are on Proxio Pro currently? Okay, we got a few people. Proxio Pro is an awesome, awesome tool. Any questions from the audience? Yes, in the back. Who are you? Where are you from?
Rich Lombari, I'm from Miami. About 90% of our business is international, so I find this very interesting from a slightly different area. One of the things that we did, a concrete thing that anybody can do, is build the relationships through Proxio. LinkedIn doesn't matter, but find people that are doing business in the cities, the specific cities with your city. Connect with those people and then give them value. So what we've done is we've developed a way of making sure that all of our flyers, unbranded, they put it in their newsletter. They use their stuff. They blast our stuff to help us. So it's not, you have to take it maybe a step beyond Proxio in building a relationship, providing them opportunity to help you help them.
Absolutely. Provide value, not ads. Yes, sir. Ma'am, was there a question up here? Did I see hand go up? Yes. Who are you? Where are you from?
Hi, my name is Alba. I just joined Keller Williams today as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
I think it's awesome. I have taken 3 courses for CIPS. My question to you is, probably you're more familiar. There is a time frame where I have to complete the courses, or probably because I took it over a year ago, it's not valid to complete the course or to get a certificate for designation.
No, there's no time restriction. You can take, as your own schedule. Like, I don't have time to go to take the whole 5 days or the whole 5 classes. So I take, because each year when the global summit through ARIA or the convention through ARIA, we always have 1 day very special discount with CIPS. And so like my last class gonna be this coming up in April, which gonna talk about Asia countries, I believe. And, so I completed all the classes. So now I can turn in and get pinned for become the CIPS, yeah.
Thank you. Great. So maybe 2 more classes and I will get a designation. Wonderful.
Excellent. Any other questions? Yes, we got 2 up front.
So we have a little bit of an odd scenario. My sister and I have a little bit of an odd scenario. We've had an office in China for the last 10, 12 years, so we're very familiar with the culture, but we're very new to the real estate world. So for your suggestion of connecting with people or connecting with different individuals, for example, wonderfully, you take trips to Hong Kong or mainland, but what would be your recommendation, or what are the steps that one could, what would be the steps to go further beyond, learning cultures and so forth when you're more established with, information and knowledge about that?
Well, I think that it's sort of been alluded to by some of the other the other panelists that it's nice when you're in a real estate organization, and Keller Williams is one. Needless to say, I want to be respectful that I'm in a room of Keller Williams agents, and
these aren't all Keller Williams agents.
Sotheby's agents. I don't want to be a sales pitch for Sotheby's, but one of the nice things about our brand is that we have offices in 70 countries. We now have 5 offices in China. So I don't, for us, there isn't a lot of thought involved. You can pick up the phone or email and call your colleagues in one of those countries and start establishing relationships. But I think what I would do if I personally didn't have that network to use back and forth is to say, okay, well, first off, you have to analyze where the business in your market is coming from, right? We have a growing Asian presence here, but it's not the same as if we lived in San Francisco or Seattle or New York. I mean, you have to realize that. You really have to understand where the business is coming from, and if that's what you want to get involved in, then figure out which countries, which organizations you're going to focus on, and find real estate organizations that maybe it's your brand, maybe it's another brand, but reach out to those people. And I think the gentleman in the back made a very good point, which is you need to be a value add, right? What is it? One would hope, we're all in the real estate business, that, someone calls you, you may spend 2 or 3 minutes having a conversation with them to be polite. But at the end of the day, we're all busy people and we have our own business. It's not my job to grow your business. It's my job to grow my business. So if you're not providing a value add to me, the clock runs out at 2 minutes. If there's a way I'm going to generate business from you, I'm going to spend more time communicating with you. And I think that if you determine that, and let's just take China for an example, that there is business coming into this market from China, which I can assure you there is, then reach out, work with those people, and what you need to be doing is constantly providing reports on what is going on in this marketplace. What is the average sale? What is the average days on market? What does the typical listing look like? Foreign buyers don't know this. Foreign agents don't know this. Who are the intermediaries between real estate agents and clients? In a lot of countries, people don't have the same type of very personal relationship that we do with our clients. There are often attorneys involved. There are other intermediaries involved. You need to learn about how that works in the countries that you're dealing with. You may not end up talking to the client for 6 months. You may not end up talking with the client at all. You may end up doing all of your communication with their attorney, with their business manager, with whomever. You need to know that in advance so that you're not spinning your wheels.
Excellent. So what we're going to do, we got another question here.
Can I add to that real quick, Aaron?
Yeah, give me one second. We got another question here, and we've got about 3 minutes left. So what we're going to do is quick questions, quick answers in the next 3 minutes that we have left. Quick questions, quick answers. Go for it.
Mine was just a spinoff. I guess we're sisters, so we think the same way. But here we're taught open houses, door knocking, flyers. There's a long list of different things that you can do on the floor to kind of generate. Is there anything that you do on the grounds that you work with in those countries? Do you do seminars, for example, in China or overseas in other places?
Awesome. So answering that question and adding on to what Dave was saying, there's kind of two sides of the coin. You can make other agent connections, which, Keller Williams has offices in 20 other countries. But the other thing to know is, in our experience, agents in other countries, even if they're not in the same brand, you're welcomed. You can still establish a network with them. So there's the agent connections. You've got Proxio, CIPS, and local offices and international offices. Then there's also the consumer side. There's also luxury property showcases that are just focused on consumers. For instance, there's an event in Beijing in next month just focused on Chinese elite buyers, actual consumers. So if you want to get directly in front of consumers, being part of those events, GPS has a booth at those events. I think HSBC does too, right? There's a lot of different shows where you can get directly in front of consumers in international markets.
Excellent. So why don't we wrap up in the last 2 minutes that we have? And would you all mind staying around if folks want to network and have questions? Is that okay? Is it okay if they stay around for a little bit if you want to network? Excellent. Okay. So quick question, quick answer. How are you marketing and executing like it's 2015? How are you marketing and executing in the year that we live in? The number one thing that you're using to market and execute in the year that we're living in.
For me, what I do is I use a lot of social media. There's a lot of cool new technologies out there that we can take advantage of to market ourselves. We used to do the postcard, we copy somebody else's statement and put it into different colors, but then we end up sending it to the same letter to all the mailboxes. So what you do is every week, if you have time, record it yourself, put on YouTube, post messages on Facebook, talk about whether or not it's a good time to buy, to sell, talking about, the area, put yourself thinking like the consumer, your clients. How do they want us to receive the information from you? Because myself, I receive a lot of postcards and things like that in the mail. And what I do is I just look at it and I throw it away. So it kind of wasted our money for marketing. why don't we use in a more cost effective and use the social media and just do that? And I see so many successful agents that using YouTube and go around town, talk about their hometown, talk about what is going on out there. So give the education and information to your clients. So that way, when a prospect buyers or seller looking at you, they know what you're talking about and the area. So that's how I do it for my 2015 market.
Provide value, not ads. Corey, how are you marketing and executing the user?
So we've talked about a lot of the different tools out there. And the thing I would say is build this international market while you're building your local market. Theo said focus on listings. Using tools like CIPS and ListHub Global and Proxio, that's great to make these international contacts, but it's also a huge differentiator in winning local business and local listings. Your competitors are not doing this. I mean, most competitors are not doing this. Be the expert, inform them about the stats that 1 out of every 12 transactions. Show them how you're marketing properties globally. That way you're making these international connections, you're building this niche, but at the same time, you're winning more local business. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can build them collectively.
Mike?
I just break it down to very basic. It's a contact sport. And it comes down to relationships. And you hear that all the time, but we're all here together, talk to each other, make connections, and leverage people. You never know, as Theo said, and various other people have said, you never know when somebody's going to pop up that can be that right connection that turns over a new leaf. Be present at what you're doing. Don't just show up at things and not go talk to people and learn from them. So it's a relationship business, as all of you guys know. It's a relationship business to grow it too.
Awesome. Dave?
No worries. Well, I could think of 100 different answers to that, but going back to one of the things that Ann said, I don't know if anybody remembers the movie Mrs. Robinson, where he says, "I've got one word for you, plastics," right? Which made sense in the movie if you've seen it. But I have one word for you, which is video. Particularly if you are interested in working with international clients, you need to understand the value of video and how it relates to presenting our listings here in the United States. And again, in my 10-second pitch for Sotheby's, I think one of the things that we're doing exceptionally well is incorporating video into everything we do. I think that if you look, we're going to do a major transition of all of our websites in the next 120 days to full motion video, full screen on the homepage, 24 hours a day. It's really going to be, I think, the most beautiful real estate website that there is. But
live streaming?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's video of listings.
Okay.
So we sold last year a house in Washington, D.C. to a gentleman in Hong Kong, sight unseen, off of a video. And it's now happened, it happened 3 times in 2014. And, again, there are a lot of things that I could say, but if you're focusing on the international community, as Ann said, you really want to show that you're an expert, and you need to give them something more than they're getting from your competitors.
Theo, how are you marketing and executing like it's 2015?
Scary. No, just kidding. What a great thing that you said, Dave. Video, big time. For me, I started a company 3 years ago, interior home decorators, and out of necessity to market my listings. And then the last 12 months or so, the last year or so, we find a niche with my team. We start calling a lot of expires and withdrawals, and we went after the luxury market. And because of our relationship with our company, that we have several designers, and we were able to transform some of those top-end homes that they were not presenting themselves in the best of light. We became very successful, and I'm happy to report that our company now, 90% of our business is my competitors.
Oh, wow.
My interior design firm actually service less than 10% of is my personal book of business.
Wow.
and I sell about, I don't know, 60 or 80 homes a year, just my team, and about 90% is my competitors. And I brought you guys some flyers, if I can put a shameless plug on our company. And we're expanding in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia actually by the end of the year because we're getting so many requests. So for us, that's been a game changer, is transforming unattractive properties and things are like literally, we be able to sell a property that has been listed with 3 other brokers over a year or 2 and sell it in 1 day, in 10 days, full price, close to full price, and stuff like that. So we're kind of creating a completely awesome niche that then people talk about it.
Awesome.
If I may just add
Yeah,
one
sure.
more thing, we're listing a house in Howard County at the Country Club, and we're having a really awesome event next month. We're doing a clue party, so there will be a mystery murder situation, and you arrive with your beautiful car, and there'll be a valet to take your car. There's a butler to greet you at the door. There's live music. There's just we always like to do stuff fun and just kind of different than the ordinary. So take my card. We'd love to send you an invitation and have you come over. We had a great time.
Excellent, excellent. So the champagne glasses that you all received when you came in, please keep those. Please keep those. I want to do something really quick before we leave. A few things before we leave. Go back in your notes. Go back in your notes. Tell me one thing that you learned today that you didn't know before you walked in the door. Who learned something today? What'd you learn? Nice and loud.
Networking, more productively with the international crew and, supply and video.
International luxury marketing or international marketing, supply, video. One thing you learned today that you didn't know before you walked in the door. Man.
On the NAR website, profile international buyers.
Profile international buyers on NAR. Tell me one thing you learned today that you didn't know before you walked in the door. Go back in your notes. Who's next? Simeon?
90% of the Miami business back there is international market.
90% of his Miami business is international. Trina? What's that? 1 in 12 buyers was an international buyer. Go back in your notes. Tell me one thing you learned today. Median price of an international buyer is double that of a domestic buyer. Awesome. Tell me one thing you learned today that you didn't know before you walked in the door. Yes. $24 billion. I think it was 92.2.
It grew by 24
It grew by 24 billion. Grew by 24 billion. Yes. Who's next? Tell me one thing you learned today that you didn't know before you walked in the door. Going once? Going twice?
I have a question.
You have a question? We'll save the best for last. Go for
If I'm monolingual, I'm not Chinese.
it. Okay.
So anyone in the international markets, how do I, if joining ARIA will do me no good. I don't speak Chinese, Korean.
I don't either. I think I heard Corey say today that 40% of ARIA members, and correct me if I'm wrong, are not Asian.
I'm a member of ARIA.
I'm a member. How many
You
members?
languages. I can order a drink at a bar in China. I can get myself back from a bar to the hotel. That's about as
To
much
answer your
money.
question, you don't have to be, we have so many niche group. You don't have to speak the language in order to join the ARIA. Michael here is one of our board member, local chapter. David is also one of our, he's a sponsor and he also a member for our local chapter. You find that there's so many different ethnic groups throughout because we have about 35 chapters. We have 2 in Canada, so that's like 37. So we have Vancouver and Toronto. Somebody is looking to open a chapter in Miami, Florida. So, we all over the place. And then with the trade summit that they do with different countries, that's help you to meet with the local government, meet with the local businesses, meet with local real estate. They went to Hong Kong and Macau, and they meet a lot of real estate businesses over there. And right now, our current president for the DC Metro chapter, he part of the trade summit, and they are planning for a Taiwan trade summit. So there's a lot. They've been going through Singapore, Philippines, France, Korea, Vietnam. So they went all over the place to do a lot of trade summit. So you will learn a lot.
And we have the leadership from Maria here. Jen, raise your hand.
John Lynn.
John, I'm sorry, excuse me, I apologize.
John is the current president of the?
John is current president for our DC Metro chapter, yes.
But the two sisters that have offices in China, they don't speak Chinese?
Ni hao.
But wouldn't a Chinese client go for the Chinese-speaking agent rather than go to them?
Chinese people are just like anybody. They go to the experts in what they're looking for, right? If the person who knows the luxury market and the market that you work in is you, then those Chinese buyers are going to go to you, and we'll figure out a way to translate.
Just an interpreter away. I want to introduce you all to Rebecca with Universal Title. She's one of our sponsors.
Good evening. I'm the Director of Business Development with Universal Title. Just going to tell you guys a few things about us. We are led by attorneys, and we have 11 offices currently, and we are located in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and we do business all across. We also have a new program that we just launched in January. It's MREA Assist Transaction Coordinator. So what we do is we coordinate 80% of your transaction. So it's an amazing product, and we're really excited about it. We've had an amazing start so far. You guys, I have a bowl in the back. If you'd like a PDF version of exactly what we offer in the transaction coordinator portion, you guys just put your card in the bowl and I'll email it to you. Also, my cards are back there on the table. We can email each other, set up an appointment, and I can tell you more about our services in person. So thank you guys. Have a great night.
Yes, Theo. Yes.
I just wanted to leave you with one last thought. It's okay, I can speak loud. Be authentic. Be authentic.
All right, so that wraps up our panel discussion for this evening. Kind of hang around and network with the panelists. Let's give them a huge round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we've got the room for another